Hello, everyone. Welcome to Green Marketing Zone's Business Talk, where you will learn about marketing from successful business owners and digital marketers. The main idea behind this talk is to educate and inspire digital creatives and professionals who are looking to build their online presence and business owners to understand the importance of marketing for their business. My guest today is Sadia Ahmed. Sadia graduated in international studies from Austin College, where she intensified her commitment to serving the community. She's a community and thought leader in Dallas-Fort Worth area, in addition to being the founder and advisor to numerous nonprofits and community initiatives. Sadia was awarded a Trailblazer Award by Texas Muslim Women Foundation and a Community Leader of the Year Award by CAIR DFW and the first Unsung Hero Award by Radio Azad. Sadia's areas of expertise include event planning, social media marketing, social media optimization, individual major giving, and annual fund development. So please join me in welcoming her. Salam, Sadia. How are you doing?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing good. I like that we're both wearing purple. It's fun. No, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for having
Great.
me on. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. So we wanted you to come on board with us to tell us more about what you do and how the community at large can be assisted in any way. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your initiatives.
Sure. So first of all, I'm really blessed to grow up in DFW among so many amazing people like you. And then, just learning from people that are role models and trailblazers in their own rights. So I actually grew up in a family that was really invested in building community and community service from the time I was little. And I went to Plano ISD, which some of you may know that are from the area, that it's really focused on service and building community. So from a very young age, we were doing service projects at school. And then I did International Baccalaureate, which has a huge component of service in it. And then I went to Austin College, which,
Mhm.
it's all about learning and lasting values, and they focus on service. So I was part of the service station, which is their community service department. And then I was also part of their leadership institute, which actually part of our scholarship was doing service in the community. So I had a foundation and amazing role models growing up and mentors that were always, investing in me and helping me invest in the community, and teaching me how to do that. And then, of course, my family background made a huge impact. My grandmother was a social worker, actually a world-renowned one. She was awarded a gold medal from Queen Elizabeth for her work, actually, in women's empowerment work. So it's a long history. I stand on the shoulder of major giants. So, alhamdulillah. So the initiatives that you were asking about here locally that I'm working on. So I consider myself a social entrepreneur by passion. It takes up a lot of my day on top of my consulting work, and I try to focus on finding those issues in the community where I feel like we need to address them, and there's nobody really addressing them. It's important for me to collaborate and coordinate with people, because there are people that are experts in areas that I'm not, right? And I think if we work together, we can solve so many of our problems in our communities and in our world. So one of the groups that I have is Strong Muslimah. It is an empowerment group, and it is limited to DFW, but alhamdulillah, we have amazing active women in our community that can do just about anything and have expertise in every field. Once again, like you. Basically, the group serves to empower each other, so we learn to empower ourselves and empower others, and just building each other up and building this support network. Whenever anyone's trying to do something, working together, helping them, get a platform, and just making sure that women can live their best lives, and,
Right.
during this quarantine, especially, we found it so helpful to rely on each other and, start a gardening
Right.
club and a cooking club or a book club, and, develop
Mhm.
ourselves further, no matter what our situation. So that's one of them. And
Right.
then also I have a mentorship program that I work with a brother on called Gem Mentorship, and it's for high school kids. It's been amazing, especially for quarantine, because I think we can all agree, we're both moms, that, sometimes
Hmm.
we say things to our kids, but they won't listen. But when someone else does, they do, right? And take it seriously. And especially when they're in
Exactly.
high school and they're teens, I think it's really important to have kind of a mentor. I know I wouldn't be the same person I am today, nearly the same, if I didn't have the mentors I had growing up. So they get kind of a big brother, big sister who kind of helps them and guides them through things. When they have problems they can't talk to their parents about, they can talk to them. And we actually do background checks, and we extensively interview the mentors to make sure that they're people that would be role models. So we have that program, and then I also work with, I started the special needs support group at IACC, Islamic Association in Collin County. So I work on
Mhm.
that, and there's a whole bunch of other hats I play. I'm also the director of youth programs at Texas Muslim Women's Foundation. So as you can tell, I love working with the youth. I love working with women. That's where my heart is, and I think we have some amazing, phenomenal women and youth in our community that are going to lead the future, and it's just supporting each other and working together to make a better world for everyone. So,
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you're doing phenomenal. I'm amazed at how much work you're doing for your community. I was just saying that, yeah, you're doing a lot of things. And so, what inspired you to start helping your community?
I think it once again has to do a lot with my family. Just growing up around strong women that were always looking to make the world better and the community better, and one person at a time. They
Mm,
weren't trying to change the world, right? They were just trying to make those that around them have better lives and easier lives. So if something came up in the community with somebody, all the women got together and tried to figure out how they could help. And that can
mhm,
be anywhere from moral support to financial support, to, actually using their expertise in whatever field. So I think I just was very blessed to grow up around a lot of very strong, empowered women. And then also the males in our lives, right? My dad
mhm.
never told us, we were three sisters, and he never told us there was something we couldn't do. Like, he just wanted us to do the best at whatever we chose to do. And I
Right.
think that always empowered me and made me, really just, I guess, upset or depressed or disappointed when I would see other women or other girls that didn't have the opportunity, that were told that, they couldn't do something because they were a girl.
Right.
Quite to the contrary, I think a lot of times people can do something because they are a girl, right? Because of the strengths that we have as women and girls. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. So, yeah, let's jump onto the topic. So, our topic today is how to communicate effectively. So, my first question is like, what do you think about communicating effectively can help you build your relationship with your customers?
So communication is key in everything we do, right? Whether you're in nonprofit sector or in the business corporate sector, even in our daily lives, everything we do is relationship building and communicating. If we're not communicating and building that relationship, we don't have the trust and loyalty of customers. So there's a lot of, vanity type markers that a lot of companies look at, like, oh, we have this many likes, so therefore this many people are following us. But the thing is, that doesn't actually mean that those people are following you. They may have just liked it, but they don't feel any connection to you. And that's the difference with communication, right? Like, when you build a relationship and have open communication where you've built a brand that has trust and loyalty, those people are the ones that really matter, because you're going to be having a ongoing relationship with them. So communication is key because you have to be very clear about what your brand is, and that goes into not just written communication, but building that relationship when you're starting off as a small business, definitely one on one, getting their loyalty and trust. And that word of mouth will get you more people because people trust you, right? And then when you get larger, I think communication is also key because you want to make sure that every customer feels special, every client. Even if you have, 2,000 clients, each client should feel like they have a connection with you. So if you don't have clear communication and transparency, you're not going to build that relationship and trust and loyalty. And it's just not sustainable. If you don't have good communication with your clients and customers, you're
Mhm.
not building a sustainable business. And, that's great to, at the beginning, have a lot of hype and have a lot of social media where people are following you. But the thing is, if they're not actually feeling a connection with you, then you're not going to really be able to grow the way you want to, right? So,
Right. Right. Yes, that's really important to actually connect with your customers because that is the main key that sometimes like most businesses I've seen that they just want to have a lot of likes or they just want to have a lot of like they don't feel like they have to build their brand. They have to have that recognition before somebody will become their paying customers.
sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So how much do you think that visual communication is important in spreading your message?
Visual is really key, especially right now. I think we are very much a swiping culture. We are bombarded with so much, especially during this quarantine virtually, right? So there's so
Mm-hmm.
much coming at you. And for you to stand out, there's a few things you really definitely need to follow. And one is visual. So I think, it's the old thing that people say where a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
write a
Right.
thousand words, no one's really going to read it right now. But you show a picture or have a flyer that has just the right amount of wording for them to get the point across, and that image will stay with them. There's a lot of studies and they vary, so I'm not going to quote one specific, but every study shows that a person has to come across certain branding x number of times before they recognize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that image is everything. Whether it be your logo or be a flyer for an event, that person, the average individual needs to at least see it 4 or 5 times before they'll act on it. So even if I'm looking for, someone for my marketing needs, I might see a flyer, I'll see it again, and I'm like, oh, I should check out what the rates are. But the thing is, that's where the communication comes in too. Like when you have that uh, communication with your existing customers and that loyalty, they will at least give you that reference, right? So if someone's seen your flyer and they recognize the brand, and then someone tells you, hey, I love that organization, they're great, they've been great for me, you're going to get that person to call you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a partnership. Like you definitely need to do your part and put the visuals out there and make it easy for people to reach you, and easy for people to know what you're doing so they can just glance at something and know, okay, they're working on this and this is the services they provide. And then that's where also the communication with your existing clientele also comes in. So yeah.
Right. Yes. So yeah, that is very important. And how about non-verbal communication? What do you think about non-verbal communication that is playing an important role in connecting with your customers?
Okay, so I think I may mix up when you were talking about verbal and nonverbal. So I think it's a partnership. You have to have a balance of it. So the verbal communication for sure, like that's where the transparency comes into it, like making sure that your customers and even potential customers always know what you're doing as a company or as a nonprofit, what you're working on. For example, with coronavirus and quarantine, and I have that article I wrote that you're welcome
Mm-hmm.
to share. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
it's about communication during crisis times. And so you want to be as transparent as possible so people know what to expect and they don't have to like wonder, oh, okay, are they still open? What are they doing? Do they have business hours? Always be clear. So the verbal comes in where you're giving the clear guidelines of what's going on. These are the things we're following. We're following safety protocol. If you're a service industry, where you're telling them we're still open, but these are the things that we're following to make sure everyone's safe, right? Because we care about our customers, but we also care about our employees. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the verbal communication comes in, the transparency part of it, and always, keeping that connection. And then the nonverbal thing, that's where I was saying, yes, you want to be transparent, but I think there's a lot of little gestures that go a long way. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
the visuals are important. So I don't know if you consider that in your verbal, but the visuals are very important. But then also going the extra mile for your customers and clients. So even though you're not necessarily pitching your product or pitching your services, pick up the phone and call your
Mm-hmm.
customers and clients so that they know you care. So even if you're a small business, I would actually say split up your clients and customers and call each of them and ask them, how are you doing during this time, right? That's where that human connection comes in. So that's still verbal communication, but it's not really directly for your services, right? You're adding a value to someone's life by checking on them. And you want to always make people feel like you add value to their life, whether through your services or just, at a human level. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Right. Yes, and it is very important, especially these days. Like I've noticed that most businesses they're not communicating, especially for small businesses, because they have a lot of other stuff that they have to do by themselves. So they're not communicating the way they should be, because there are so many things that customers are actually going through. Not only the business owners, but customers are also going through a lot of things, and they cannot go out, they cannot go and shop the way they were doing it before, because now there is no way that you can go and choose what you're liking or what you're looking for. It's just a matter of what is available out there. So of course there are so many challenges that your customer is actually facing as well, and communication can actually play an important role for that communication gap that is happening right now, because there is no face to face communication. So yeah, definitely it is very important to pay attention to visual communication versus your nonverbal and verbal communication as well.
And I'll add one thing. I think when that's where that building the relationship is, right? When you can make someone feel like they are supporting a business that's doing good, at a human level, that's going to keep you sustainable as well. So, for example, there are companies you'll see that are doing a lot of things to help the community during this time, even though they're going through a hard time, right? But they're giving away meals, or if it's a medical, you know, service, then they're giving away free coronavirus testing, things like that. So, if there's anything you can do to help in your community, even if it's not related to your business, um, I think that's excellent, because at the basic level, everyone wants to help and support businesses that are doing good out there. It's not just about the bottom line, right? So,
Right.
so I would definitely encourage, if you provide a service or a product that can be beneficial to people in this difficult time, use it, right? And even if you're not wanting it to be for marketing reasons, it will be marketing for you, positive marketing, right? And that's
Exactly.
the thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So, what are the challenges you face when you are communicating to your customers or when you're communicating to the community at large?
I would say, the one thing I've learned, and it takes some time, right? So there's two things.
Hmm.
So one thing is, marketing is not something that, you have to not be patient at. Sorry, that was a double negative. But basically, you have to be patient with your customers and clients, right? Everyone's going through different things. Their situations are different. If you have a client that you're waiting on and they're not getting you what you need, there might be a lot of other things happening in the background, right? So give themselves grace and give yourself grace, and know life happens, right? Things happen. There might be something going on and you're having to wait on something to move on to the next step. It is what it is. So
Hmm.
go back to that human connection, call them up and say, hey, listen, I know I'm waiting on this. Is everything okay? Is there a way I can expedite this? Is there a way I can be of service to you? um, that is what's going to keep you going, and keep people coming back to you and asking for your services even more than your marketing, right?
Hmm.
The other thing I found also is meet people where they need you. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically, what I would say is different companies have different needs. So always be willing to evolve and change to meet those needs. So, I might have XYZ company, and then I have a second company, and they're almost the same service and they do the same thing. Doesn't mean their needs are going to be the same, right? So
Hmm.
be willing to evolve and, kind of tailor to companies. It will help you grow as well. And that goes for life in general, right? Where things are always changing. Like, we have to go with the flow and let
Hmm.
ourselves, even be uncomfortable for a little bit to grow. So I would
Right.
say just making sure that, you give individual attention to every client and customer and tailor what you can provide depending on what they're needing. So definitely listen to what they need, right? I think the first step is listening. And I think a lot of times we have a protocol like, oh, they're this size company. This is what they should do. This is what they need. But the thing is, it's not going to be the same across the board. Like, you can't just decide from the beginning. Everything starts with that communication again. Like, have clear communication of each other's vision, and make sure you understand their vision and they understand what your vision is for them. So I think the biggest thing is taking that time to build that foundation for every single project or customer to make sure y'all are on the same starting ground. So, and I think that can be frustrating, especially for those starting off, because you've gone to school or you've gotten a certification. You're like, my instructor said XYZ, this is how it goes, and this is what I should follow. But the real world's not like that, right? I think, once again, it goes back to the human connection and communication. So.
Exactly. Yes, that plays a very, very important role in when, especially for people who are actually starting in their business. You have to be persistent, you have to be patient, and then you have to learn all the things. It's not like things are gonna go the way you have planned them. But
Mhm.
communication is a very important thing. It's a key thing that can play a role in when you are communicating or connecting with your customer. So, yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
definitely. So how can a business owner get better at public speaking skills? What do you think about that?
I actually think public speaking, communication, they kind of go hand in hand. If you're someone who's shy and have difficulty talking in front of people that you're not familiar with, that's something you're definitely going to have to learn, right? You really cannot be in communications and marketing otherwise. So my suggestions would be join, networking organizations even, to first of all build those, like, set yourself a goal. For example, my mentor always gives us the goal that make sure you come out of events with 3 business cards in hand, which means you've connected with 3 people, right? So start from that where you're comfortable talking to someone you don't know, and pitching. Like, make sure that you practice your pitch, like for your company or organization. Everyone needs to know their pitch. It needs to be an elevator pitch, which is like 30 seconds, and someone can know everything you need them to know so that they can get intrigued. So I would say even standing in front of the mirror and learning how to give your pitch where it's like automatic, right? You don't even have to think about it. It just comes out of your mouth and it flows. So that when you're even nervous, it's so memorized, you're comfortable, right? And then I would say the third thing would be you can definitely join organizations like Toastmasters that focus on public speaking. I personally think it's very beneficial to just, do that pitch in front of people in your family, then work up to your friends, and then maybe work up to those networking groups where you're talking in front of small groups. And before you know it, you'll be comfortable, because it'll be like second nature saying the words you're saying, right?
Mhm.
So you'll get more comfortable that way. But there's definitely organizations and resources to support you, if you need someone to really break those barriers and that anxiety. But I will tell you, I've been doing public speaking since probably high school. And after a while, you realize everyone's the same. They're just human beings. There's nothing to be scared of. And if you mess up, you just laugh and you give yourself grace and say, like earlier, for example, I'll just give that example. I could have freaked out because I couldn't hear you. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're on. But the thing is, stuff happens, right? Life is
Yeah.
not predictable. You just need to know, like, practice as much as you can, get your pitch down, and then anything else you say, if you happen to be publicly speaking in front of a big group about your group or about yourself, just laugh it off. People will understand that, oh, she didn't mean to say that, that came out wrong, and you can just laugh it off. But it's better that you can be be kind to yourself and just do the best you can at the beginning, because with practice it'll get better for sure. So.
Right. Exactly. And it is very important because whenever you have a brand or any business, you have to know how to actually you're gonna market it before you say anything to anybody. You're actually a brand when you go somewhere or when you're presenting your business to somebody, you're marketing it. That is marketing. But if you don't know how to talk, how to speak up, how to actually say what your business is about and how you're actually making change or how actually you're creating a value to your customers, that is going to be very hard for you to actually present your business in front of them so they can think about actually giving you their business or giving you their money and become your paying customers. So this is
Sure.
a very important point. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, what can a business owner do during these uncertain times to have more communication? What do you think about like how can they have more communication with their customers, especially with people who are actually there? Like right now is not the time to grow your business, But
Mhm.
the time right now is to actually connect with your existing customers. How can you actually make them come back so they don't feel pressured that, okay, I cannot go outside, I cannot have a face-to-face meeting with anyone, but I still have my needs and I still have to go and purchase stuff and do all the business of life, right? So how can someone take time to actually get better at that?
So I actually will disagree with you a little bit. There are definitely companies that are growing and thriving right now. I think it's very dependent on where you are community wise. I'll tell you, I was thinking, I had a bunch of companies that have, big, like for example, some of the companies I work with, nonprofits, they had big goals during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Across the board, they've all actually met them. And I was surprised because I was predicting that they were not going to be making their goals for this
Mm-hmm.
period or this quarter. But I think a lot of people in most areas still have their jobs, they have their livelihoods, they want to give. And they see the need to give because they feel like it makes them a part of the community and building it up. So I think going back to your question, though, the communications part of it, there are definitely a lot of ways that you can build that connection still with new and existing clients. So if you are not focusing on your communication strategy up until now, this is the perfect time to start focusing on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can look anything like, your president or CEO, whoever, sending out a letter. Go the old school way, right? Like we send out emails and it stays in our inbox, and sometimes we don't see it. It doesn't cost much to mail out letters.
Mm-hmm.
Sending a letter, even starting a newsletter online where you're
Mm-hmm.
showcasing all the things you've done up until now, because maybe that's not something you were doing. So if people
Mm-hmm.
miss something, they may not have been able to, get a summary or catch up or find out what it was about. Um, Take your content and reframe it. And I gave this advice to someone even yesterday. I'm like, you have so much client content because you've been growing your organization for the last 5 years, but there's so much that no one has been able to really, wrap their arms around all the content you put out there. So why not
Mm-hmm.
take it and put it into bite-sized pieces? So for example, if you had a speaker series, for example,
Mm-hmm.
taking those speaker series and breaking them out into maybe 10-minute segments and then putting it on your social media. And so
Mm-hmm.
people can still benefit and get that 1 point from that 10 minutes instead of the hour and a half webinar you may have done, right? Or, doing the newsletter where you're giving them not only what you've provided and what services you are providing right now and updating people on these are our hours, we're still answering the phones, we can still work with you virtually. And then if you are an in-person organization or company, you can still, just making sure that your clients and customers know that, right? A lot of people don't know who's open and who's not, who's still answering the phone. So just
Mm-hmm.
give them that confidence that, oh no, we're still here, you can still call us, we can still help you. And then also taking that content and just reframing it so that when people are really really busy and perhaps didn't have as much time to check online, you can still give them the benefit of that information or that content. So it's really, I can work with you specifically for each organization. If you have an organization and you want some feedback or advice, I'll give you my contact info, because everyone can do a little bit of something. So it really depends on, if you're a service oriented organization or a product based, or if you're a nonprofit. But definitely stay connected, continue your communication, be transparent about what you're doing in this crisis time. Take a look at the article. It will give you some points on how you can do that. And then also, I have to say one thing. I think sometimes we forget that communications and marketing is not just about us with our clients and our customers, right? It's also your employee base. Like, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a strong employee base where people feel that morale is up and they feel that they're valued, it's going to show. So I would say, if you are leadership at a company or organization, stay in contact with your employees, even if they're working from home, right? Take that
Mm-hmm.
extra second and just, shoot them an email that's personalized. Or if you're a smaller organization, if you're a bigger one, maybe find a way that you can still make people feel like you're checking in on them and you are concerned and this is a hard time, right? Like we need to
Mm-hmm.
all do that and go back to that human connection again. Because if your employees feel valued, you will see it in your productivity level during this time. So,
Right. Yeah, that's a very important and key point when you're actually communicating with your customers or building your brand. So, how can people reach out to you, Sadia, if they're interested in helping out their community?
sure. So I have a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and
Uh-huh.
Snapchat. So you can find me on any of those platforms. It's Sadia, the way my name is spelled out, and you can just search for me. And otherwise, I will also give you my email address, but it's the same as my name. I'll give you my personal one actually. So it's Sadia, Saadia Ahmed, 2012 at gmail.com. And that'll go to my personal inbox, so I'll see it right away. And then we also have our website, Fluff and Logic, and you can go through there. My email is linked there. But if it's for personal reasons, I'd like to get back to you as soon as possible, and you can set it that way. Otherwise, it'll, categorize it into companies, and it may take a little bit longer to get to. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Sadia, today. And having a communication strategy is very important for any business to survive these days. So we're kind of wrapping up today. And Sadia, would you like to give any advice to people who are actually thinking to start some community initiatives, or some if they're actually thinking about maybe participating in all the community initiatives that are going out there?
Sure. I'm a big believer at what Muhammad Ali said, that, community service is the rent we pay for our space on this earth. So I think we all have a responsibility to give back in different ways. Whatever you can do. Not everyone's going to give back the same way. So I definitely would encourage everybody to do something, especially given our times, to give back to the community. Whether you're mentoring, tutoring, give of time, give of money, just give back in whatever ways you can, and collaborate, right? There's a lot of opportunities to help people that are on the ground helping with different crises that we're facing right now. And be an ally to each other, right? Support each other and empower each other, because empowering another person doesn't mean that we're less. Honestly, it grows us all together, so that's really important. Also, I would say, if you're trying to start an initiative, look out and see if there's other people that are working on that already, right? Surround yourself with like-minded people, positive people, people that you can learn from, and they can mentor you and you can mentor them. That's the best way to do it. I think when people think that they can do it on their own, they very easily get burned out. And it's really easy to lose sight of what needs to be done, because more minds the better, right? Like, when you have a lot of people working on something together, you're going to get different perspectives and you're going to have a better end product. So, for example, if you're wanting to work, say during this quarantine, you want to help with food for people that have lost jobs or something like that, just Google in your area and see what's out there. Look at your social media, right? Even from your city level, maybe you can look on the city pages to see, what are the initiatives out there, and see how you can help and add to that. Rather than right away starting something on your own. I think that's difficult to do unless you already have a network built where there's like-minded people that are wanting to work together. So always work together. You will definitely remember to, what should I say? Like, you should definitely check in with yourself and make sure your vision is still there. Like, don't let your vision get lost, but make sure that you have other people to help support you and give you ideas and to get feedback from. I'll come from a tradition where counseling is really important in terms of, working together and talking things out before you make a decision. So,
Mhm.
make sure that you have the right people in your life that you can check in with and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? What do you know? Do you know of anything in the community that is along these lines that I could work with them and maybe help them grow their initiative even?" So, yeah. So my feedback would be definitely work together and empower each other. I think collaborating and coordinating is so key when it comes to so many different things. So,
Yeah, that's a great advice. Yeah, thanks again, Sadia. It was such a
yeah, of
great
course.
pleasure to have you here. So I hope our audience got a lot of value from your story, and we will look forward to seeing you to help your community and build new initiatives as well. Thank you so much,
Great. Thank
Sadia.
you so much. Thanks. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah. If you have any more questions, leave us a comment below, and we will be happy to help you. Thank you. Bye.